class. Today we are on Saxon Book 3 and we're doing lesson 39, which is stories about comparing. So, first I want to point out this word to you, difference. We have talked before about how the answer to a subtraction problem is the difference. So you're going to see that word in all kinds of subtraction problems from now the whole way through your math career, because a lot of subtraction problems like to say, find the difference. Find the difference between 2 years. Find the difference between two amounts. So today we're specifically going to talk about years. And if we're trying to find the difference, perhaps between ages or between two different events in history, that's a subtraction problem. We set it up by putting the later year first, subtracting the earlier year, and then we find our difference. So our first example is going to be doing that for us. It says, how many years were there from Charles Lindbergh's flight across the Atlantic in 1927? So our first year here is 1927. Until Armstrong and Aldrin walked on the moon in 1969. So we have our 2 years. We're trying to find the difference between these 2 years. So we need to start by figuring out what's the later year. Well, this one's bigger. And we know in subtraction we put the bigger number on top. So that's what we're going to start with, 1969. And then we want to subtract the earlier year, or the smaller number, which is 1927. And once we set that up, we know how to subtract. 9 minus 7, that gives me 2. 6 minus 2 gives me 4. 9 minus 9 is 0, and 1 minus 1 is 0. I don't have to fill those two zeros in. I can see that my answer is 42. Well, 42 what? What are we talking about here? It's passage of time, and we're talking about years. So 42 years is what I would write on my paper. Okay? Our next example is very similar, but this is going to use a timeline strategy. So in this problem, it asks, how old was Gloria on her birthday in 2007? So that's the first year they give us. If she was born in 1992. So they happen to give those to us in order, with the bigger one first and the smaller number or the earlier number second. We could just subtract. But when we're talking about the age of a child or just a small number of years, a timeline is another way we could answer that problem. So I have a timeline here. It goes from 1990 to 2010, and I marked it so that it's counting by fives. So, Gloria was born in 1992. So here's 1990, 1991, 1992. We'll put a point right here. That's Gloria's birth. And they want to know, how old did she turn on her birthday in 2007? So that's going to be, here's 2005, so 2006, 2007. We'll put a point there as well. So to figure out how old she would be on a timeline, we just need to jump. Each jump is going to be 1 year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Gloria would be 15 years old. Let's do some subtraction here and see if we get the same answer. 7 minus 2, that's going to give me a 5. 0 minus 9, ooh, that's harder. I can't take 9 away from 0. I have to borrow, but I can't borrow from 0, so I have to go all the way over here to the thousands and borrow there. I'm not going to take 1,000 and break it into tens. I'm going to break it into hundreds first. So I have 10 hundreds. Now I can borrow 100, so I have 9 left, and break that into tens, 10 tens. 10 tens minus 9 tens gives me 1 10. 9 minus 9 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. So once again, I got 15, and I would have to put the label years. Okay. So the next example is more of a greater, lesser difference. No more years. This is going to be amounts. Okay, Frederick and his brother were playing a board game. Frederick scored 354 points. His brother scored 425 points. What is the difference in their scores? So first we have to set it up. We're going to take the greater amount. 354 compared to 425. 425 is greater. So from that, I'm going to subtract my lesser amount, which is 354. And now 5 minus 4 gives me 1. 2 minus 5 is 3, right? No, I can't do that. I can't take 5 away from 2. I have to borrow. So now 12 minus 5 gives me 7. 3 minus 3 gives me 1. What's the difference in their scores? 71 points. And I'll just abbreviate points there. Okay, I have a couple of lesson practice problems for you. They are all word problems. So I'm going to give them to you, give you a chance to do them on your own on a whiteboard or a piece of paper. Hit pause so that you have time to work on it. And when you're ready to see each answer, hit play again and we'll go over it together. So our first problem is the telephone was invented in 1876. This was how many years after the telegraph was invented in 1844? I'll read that one more time. The telephone was invented in 1876. This was how many years after the telegraph was invented in 1844? Pause the video, try to answer that, and hit play when you're ready to go over it. Okay. So first we have to determine when was the later time. That would be the telegraph. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. That would be the telephone in 1876 minus the earlier time, which would be the telegraph in 1844. 6 minus 4 gives us 2. 7 minus 4 gives us 3. 8 minus 8, 1 minus 1, nothing. So 32 years is our answer to A. Okay, B says the barcode that is printed on products was invented in 1974. The laser that is used to read the barcodes was invented in 1960. The barcode was invented how many years after the laser? I'll read that one more time. The barcode that is printed on products was invented in 1974. The laser that is used to read the barcodes was invented in 1960. The barcode was invented how many years after the laser? This is another time with years. So, I'm sorry, hit pause. When you've finished answering, then we will go over the answer together. So another year one, we have to start with the later year. In this case, 1974. We're going to subtract the earlier year, which was 1960. 4 minus 0 is 4. 7 minus 6 is 1. 9 minus 9, 1 minus 1 is 0, so 14 years. Okay, our final practice problem. This says, write a greater minus lesser equals difference number sentence for problem C, then answer the question. So, Rose saved her money and bought a stereo that cost $238. Hans saved his money and bought a stereo that cost $255. Whose stereo cost more? How much more? I'll read it one more time. Rose saved her money and bought a stereo that cost $238. Hans saved his money and bought a stereo that cost $255. Whose stereo cost more? How much more? So remember, there's two questions in that problem. You need to answer both of them in order to get the whole problem correct. Hit pause, try that on your own, and then hit play when you're ready to go over the answer. So, Rose bought a stereo that was $238. Hans bought a stereo that was $255. Whose cost more? That was the first question. Which number's bigger? Hans. So our first answer is going to be Hans, and that also helps us set up our problem because this is a difference problem. How much more wants me to find the difference between the two prices. So $255 minus $238. 5 minus 8, I have to regroup, I have to borrow. 15 minus 8 gives me 7. 4 minus 3 gives me 1. And this is money, so don't forget your dollar sign. All right, folks, that is the end of lesson 39. Now is the time for you to work on your written practice, which begins on page 214 of your textbook. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.